It is time for our segment on Wake Up Central where we answer your questions, big and small. Our question this morning comes from Camden. Why do we still have daylight saving time? Well, that's a great question.
It is a uniquely American idea. The idea goes back to none other than Benjamin Franklin.
David Ware is the state historian for Arkansas who says Ben Franklin submitted a satirical proposal to a French journal in the 1780s.
He supported this satirical letter with calculations as to the number of candles that could be saved.
Nearly a century and a half later, the idea would become law in the United States.
We finally adopt daylight savings time in 1918. The idea was to make better use of available daylight for production purposes.
However, the decision was a controversial one.
It was not popular. After World War I, Congress promptly revoked it. It became optional, and a number of eastern states and cities kept it. West of the Mississippi, they tended to abandon it.
The policy was picked up again with the expansion of travel during the mid-20th century.
In the 1950s, the 1960s, the growth of commercial aviation, we see airlines wanting to be able to have consistent schedules.
As a result, we see the return of daylight saving time.
In the early 1960s, that we see the move towards nationwide, federally mandated daylight savings time.
So is it here to stay? In March, the U.S. Senate weighed in, unanimously voting in favor of the Sunshine Protection Act, which would make daylight saving time permanent year-round. However, it stalled in the House.
You know, the idea of simplifying things is still there. Now, why they would do this rather than reverting to the old standard time, who knows?
It's our new segment here on Wake Up Central where we answer your Arkansas questions, big and small. Now, we know the natural state is well known for duck and deer season, but do we actually have an alligator hunting season here in Arkansas? That's a great question. Our state is one of, if not the best state in the country for the outdoors. But can you actually hunt alligator here in Arkansas? We asked Trey Reed with the Arkansas Game and Fish.
We do have an alligator hunting season in Arkansas and have for, oh gosh, it's probably getting on close to 15 years now.
It is a short season, however, just 2 weekends a year in September. The 16th through the 19th and the 23rd through the 26th for public lands in zones 1 and 3. The same dates in all 3 zones for private land hunts in 2022.
It's a nighttime only season from sunset on Friday evening until sunrise Monday morning, but only during nighttime hours.
So why is our alligator hunting season so short? The answer is pretty simple.
We don't have as many alligators as South Louisiana, so there are a number of public land permits, and then we have a quota system for the private land portion of the hunt. So once that quota is reached, the hunt shuts down.
Now, alligator permits, they are tough to come by. They've already been drawn for 2022, but if you're looking to try and catch a gator in 2023, you do have a shot.
Every year, the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission accepts applications for alligator permits June 15th through June 30th. So about a 2-week window there. There's a $5 application fee, and you just go to agfc.com and apply online.
And here is your friendly reminder, this is not for the faint of heart.
It's a pretty exciting type of hunting, you know, when you've got an 8-10 foot alligator attached to a rope and you're in a 12-14 foot flat bottom boat and that dude's pulling you around a swamp. It's pretty exciting.
All right, thank you, Scott. It is our new segment on Wake Up Central where we continue to answer your Arkansas questions, big and small. Our question this morning comes from a viewer in North Little Rock and involves an upcoming and expensive deadline. Why do we pay personal property taxes here in the state? Well, that's a great question. An Arkansas law that feels about as old as the Postal Service itself, paying your personal property taxes. Bentley Hovis is the Chief Deputy Treasurer in Pulaski County.
The simple answer is that it's actually required by our state's constitution.
The law dates back all the way to the 19th century.
That document goes back all the way back to 1874. So in Arkansas, we do our taxes, different than other states.
Obviously, what property is taxed has evolved since the wagons and buggies of the 1870s.
Today, the legislature has deemed that it's your cars, it's your boat trailers, it's your boats, it's your ATVs.
Maybe the biggest question we've received from viewers, where does this money exactly go?
About 64 to 65% of it all goes to public schools. And the another 19% will go to the cities, Little Rock, North Little Rock, Sherwood, and so forth. And the county's part of that's about 10 to 11%.
Now, these numbers can vary depending on what county you live in, depending on the millage rate of your school district.
We follow the law. We don't, make up the tax amounts down here. We go on what the voters approve for us to tax.
Finally, a friendly reminder to pay your personal property tax by October 17th this year to avoid receiving a late fee.
Paying your taxes does matter, and it like I said, it funds our schools and our cities, our jails. And I could go on and on.
It is our segment here on Wake Up Central where we continue to answer your questions, big and small. Now, our question this morning comes from North Little Rock. Was the actual old mill in North Little Rock really filmed for the classic movie Gone with the Wind? Well, that is a great question. One of, if not the most recognizable landmarks in Arkansas is the old mill.
I say this is the crown jewel of North Little Rock, in my opinion, but probably one of the most photographed places in the state of Arkansas.
But was it really filmed for the 1939 classic film? Sandra Taylor Smith is the director of the North Little Rock History Commission.
Yes, it was. It was in Gone with the Wind in the very opening credits. You have to really watch it from the very beginning and just for a few seconds, but it was indeed.
She says the old mill was built by developer Justin Matthews in 1933 during the Great Depression.
And he built the old mill as a tourist attraction, thinking that people would come here and remember it, and then when times got better, they would come back.
However, while there are many theories to why the location was chosen for the film, there is no concrete answer. Theory 1 involves former Mayor Peter Fawcett.
Mr. Fawcett had spent some time in West Hollywood, and it could be that he had seen some of the work in his travels. The other theory is that his architect, Frank Carmine, was sent on a tour of the Southwest and California to look at architectural styles, and he could have seen some of his work. And then there's another theory that there were travel logs that were done that were kind of shown before movies in theaters, and this may have been in a travel log.
Lucky for us Arkansans, we don't need a movie or a travel log to see the old mill. We can visit year-round.
Just absolutely stunning. Dogwood trees in the spring, in the fall, it's beautiful. So it's got, character all year long.
One of Arkansas's treasures. So the park is free and open to the public during daytime hours if you would like to visit.
And it's super charming. It
Yes.
looks like a fairy tale. A lot of people there gather for photos.
I was going to say, you had your wedding photos
I did have my wedding
there?
photos there. I've seen lots of people there. Just take the day to just snap a few.
You
great.
might have seen Hayden, because he's been there with
Been there
for
many a times.
pictures.
Graduation, family photos. I think I've been in a wedding that was photographed there.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
just everybody's been to the old mill.
What a backdrop. I mean, just in our backyards,
Just hidden away there in that neighborhood. It's so interesting.